This is Martin Ruppert. He is the capability lead for AS400 systems in Suncorp Life.
So guys, thanks very much for your time today. I wanted to firstly thank Pravin for inviting me to talk to you today. ThoughtWorks and Suncorp Life have had a really long and productive relationship over the last few years. So I'm actually the team leader for the software development team there, which maintains this platform. Let's just talk about what Life 100 is. It's a green screen application. It runs on IBM mid-range machine called AS400, or these days called I-Series machine. Green screen applications, as you know, are prolific throughout our industry. Banking, insurance, financial sectors. There's a lot of investment in these type of platforms. Originally written by Computer Science Corporation, CSC, they've sold hundreds of installations around the world, and actually it's one of the most leading life insurance platforms out there. And they also have a general insurance system called AS400. There's a lot of installations around the world. Yeah, it runs on AS400, underneath the covers, DB2 database. Just a bit of background, we've done a lot of investment in this platform. It supports a lot of our current book of business. The question for us is, how do we innovate using the existing platform and start to accelerate our product delivery out to the market? With all these COBOL-based systems, we've got a lot of problems with change one small subsystem, it affects a lot of other systems within the same platform. Everything's highly tied together. If I change one database schema, I've got to recompile almost all the source code and deploy to production. And that type of thing doesn't enable fast delivery of innovation out to the marketplace. The whole system was written over maybe 20-something years, and some of those subsystems we don't even know much about. Okay, so there's a question about, well, what does it really do? And that's a scary thing when you come to actually look at testing that, and how do I actually set up a test plan to make sure it's of good quality when I go to production and I don't have problems when I actually roll out. The way around that, traditionally we actually hired big teams of test analysts, okay? And all our testing was done through the keyboard. It's a text-based application, so basically we'd hire people to type on the keyboard to test something. There was no scripting, there's no automation. It's all just writing a test script in a Word document and just repeatedly executing that test. The problem with that, it's not sustainable, okay? And we can't, again, hire teams of 20 test analysts to do this type of thing. And especially if I'm rolling out multiple changes to the same subsystem in an agile way. Our manager in Suncorp Life established Project Vital, which basically was a bit of a hotbed to actually get some of this innovation into our legacy platforms. And through that, we actually partnered up with ThoughtWorks. We created what we called an automation hub, which is basically a few key champions who the ThoughtWorkers could pair with and uplift our own capability. The end result, basically, we have now a test automation framework which runs over the black and green screen application. We actually looked out into the marketplace to see if there's any vendors with other products like, say, QTP that just don't offer the same flexibility as what we actually managed to roll in our own way. And I'll show you the technology a bit later and how it's predominantly based on open source. So the overall objectives of our automation hub were, let's try and automate anything which is repeatable, time-consuming, and let's make sure it's simple and reusable so that any programmer who has a basic knowledge of both Java, a little bit of HTML, can actually jump into that space and start automating straight away, only after a small bit of training. Simplicity was the main bottom line that we tried to implement here. Again, anything testing through the green screen is repeatable. Okay, the application is really just a simple workflow platform. It's all menu-based, so you can't go wrong. So, without further ado, let's roll a demo and show you what we're talking about.
Okay, I just wanted to show you the Life 100 application. We've already logged into the system here, and we are in a test environment now. And this is your application. It's basically a simple workflow, text-based application. You've got a main menu. If you want to do a transaction, you simply scroll down to the option that you want and hit enter. It's all keyboard-based, and you can type in the contract information and so on to do your transaction. To get back to the main menu, you just hit F3 all the way. So for example, if I wanted to create a new product, I'd come down to Proposals New Business, create a new product, and I type in that product code. And from here, I'll be required to type in quite a lot of details. Okay, so let's have a look at a sample Concordian test. And I've got one here for our income protection, accident cover, premiums. The test case we want to do is represented in a simple format. We've got an ordinary policy here. It's going to be paying monthly and by cash. Inside the Concordian test, we can override certain test criteria, for example these ones here. And in this example, we're actually going to run some background processing jobs to move the policy forward for the first year and check that the premiums are what we expect, because the premiums do increase with CPI and various rating tables. So that's your Concordian test. Let's go over and actually run this test now. So we're actually running through the test now. It's navigating through all the screens. We need to create a new proposal, insurance proposal in Life 100. In the bottom, in the AS400, those jobs represent what happened overnight. So instead of having to wait for a nightly batch, we can actually run these in real time. Okay, it's now putting some money under the policy. It's going very quickly. And there you have it. Okay, so after the test runs, we actually end up with a nice Concordian report in HTML format. As you can see, my test was, did my premium match my expected result? I actually got an error here. That's pretty cool. I managed to find that out within only a couple of minutes. The other cool thing is I actually get a full list of all the screens that we actually navigated to, and all the information that we pushed onto the screen. So, and you can use this as either a training guide or even an audit trail to prove that you've done your tests.
The whole idea is we're getting fast feedback on any changes we've done. And say, for that creating a new insurance policy, you might have changed the 15th screen in the workflow, and you need to actually visit all those screens to get to that one point. We're just accelerating that. So we're going straight to the point of the code change and just testing that. With this workflow system, you actually have to visit all those screens to get to that particular point. You can't just unit test that one screen. Okay, so the actual green screen is what you call an emulator, and the protocol it uses is called 5250. And the difference between that and the mainframe is the mainframe uses a different emulation, which is called 3270. So you could actually leverage this to be used in a mainframe environment as well. The other thing we added was, instead of having to screen scrape for each test, sometimes it's fast to go directly to the database, and there's an open source JT Open toolkit for AS400, and that allows us just to do direct JDBC reads and writes to the database, and also allows us to do things like calling programs directly and submitting background tasks. So once you have the power over the whole box, it's like you just have to, you're treating now the system as a black box, and you can sit at your desktop and then pull the levers to get your test to run just in pure Java, without having to worry about how that actually happens behind the scenes. So that was quite powerful, and we hooked up both of those together. So I'd like to talk now a little bit about how setting up this framework has actually impacted our teams. The first thing that this actually enables is a career path for some of my team members that previously Java and new technologies were out of reach for my team, predominantly COBOL programmer, and also in the testing space, we actually only ever did testing through the keyboard. So by setting up a simple framework, this enables people to think about, I might try and learn some of this technology. Hence, it gives them a leg up in their own career. We set up a bit of a learning path to allow people to be firstly measured against how proficient they are, and it gives them something to reach out for. And the idea is that we can train up other team members, they can start pairing with other people, and hence the automation hub continues to evolve with new people coming in and out. And through giving the testing community a tool to actually test with our platform, we actually enabled a new test engineer role to be established within Suncorp. Previously, we were heavily reliant on platform experts to come in and know all our products and know how to do, say, running renewals on an insurance policy. Now all you need to do is be able to read the Java code to understand how that system works and run the test. The test actually becomes documentation of your platform. So some of those hidden, scary areas are now documented by using a test. So some of the results. There's also, I also cover off some of the return on investment. And we all know that it takes more time to automate your tests. Okay, we all know that. But it's the multiple times you run your tests that you get the payback. We've got over 40 workflows automated. We've got premium calculation simulations, so we can make sure when we're changing the rates, it matches what we expected. So we can have the COBOL programs, the rounding problems we have established there. We can test straight from the website to the back end, okay, because we have that direct access type database class. We can just check the result in the back end database without having to screen scrape. We've got over $1 million return on investment based on the reusability of the workflows that we've done so far. Once we handed the project over to production support, we thought, okay, how can we start automating some of those other tasks that we get? So instead of just automating tests, let's automate some of those bulk transactions that we get coming through from the customer. So I had to do a surrender of 1,000 policies that had a very low balance. So we decided to use our automation tool to go through the screens, basically do the same workflow, and saved hiring a temporary employee for a couple of weeks of just typing that in. That mundane, repeatable task we just automate in about 2 hours. So that straight away got the business to say, hey, this is really cool, guys. And finally, just a quick look back, just to share some of the learnings that we had. At the moment, I've got actually 3 projects running using this test framework to speed up their delivery. And one of the biggest uplifts we get is when we get experienced Java programmers into the team and to start to enhance the framework. And some really cool things have been going on. For example, we've got a lot of data-driven tests now coming out of one particular project because they're doing a data migration of many tens of thousands of policies from one mainframe to our mid-range platform. And they want to do a lot of bulk transactional testing. Say, I want to check the premiums of 1,000 policies. This type of thing is never possible with just hands on the keyboard. But now I can actually just say, let's run the insurance renewals for 1,000 policies and check the result. And the way they've done it is actually, instead of using Concordian, which we know can be quite tedious in coding, just use a basic spreadsheet. Each row in the spreadsheet becomes a test. So each individual row will be executed as a separate JUnit test, and you get a nice output at the end.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.